be where your feet are.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Tara, the co-founder of Brand Colleague, she told me that the other day, and I was like, that's a really nice phrase. Just like remembering where you are, be where your feet are, enjoy the moment, appreciate the small things, that sort of thing.
Okay, so welcome back to the Revisited series, a sub-series of the Not Going to Uni podcast where we interview people that we've had on before and we check where they are and how they are doing. So please welcome back from season 2, episode 2. It's Jaina. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Ethan?
I'm very, very well, thank you. Excited to sit down and chat because it's been a while since we've seen each other. So yeah, for everyone who hasn't seen the last one or who needs a reminder, can you just give a little tiny bit of an introduction to yourself, who you are, what you do, that kind of thing?
Of course. So I'm Jaina, and I'm a final year now, project management degree apprentice at Leonardo. Leonardo's an aerospace firm, aerospace defence and security, and I joined after my A levels at 18. So very much on the final leg of the degree apprenticeship, which is really exciting.
Amazing, amazing. So yeah, like as you said, final year now. When you caught up with Jamie last, it was about 6 months ago, maybe a bit longer than that. And you said in your episode that you were kind of just nearly halfway through, not quite. But it sounds as if you're coming towards the end now. How's the last kind of stint been?
Honestly, really good. I think the final years made me, over the time that I last spoke to Jamie, sort of consolidated more of my role, if that makes sense. You know, you settle in a bit more, you understand what you want next, you know, you're having those thoughts about next steps post apprenticeship, and you actually had to make those decisions rather than having an idea. Don't get me wrong, I'm still floating, but I think I'm more clear about what I want, if that makes sense. But you also feel more confident in what you're doing because you're not sort of at the beginning of your apprenticeship where you're uncertain, but you're more like confident in what you're doing. I'm sure that's probably the same with you as well now that you're in final year.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I feel you feel a lot more settled. You feel a lot more.
Yeah.
It's weird because you feel like you know everything, and you feel like you've been there and you're so settled and you're getting on. But then suddenly something will come along and you'll be like, oh wait, no, I actually didn't know how to do that. That's cool. And then you get those moments still of of like proper learning, which you don't get as often as you did at the beginning. Which I find
Yeah.
quite exciting now.
Or there's even like first year apprentices who are doing the same scheme as you, who you didn't necessarily have originally, and it's like teaching them what you know, and it's like, wow, I
Yeah,
was in your shoes 2 years ago. How crazy to think of like the progress.
yeah, 100%. So you also said there that you've kind of consolidated your role and started thinking about what's next. So can you dive in first into a little bit of like exactly what you do as a project manager at Leonardo, and then where you're kind of seeing it going next? Obviously, you can never say for certain, but where do you want it to go? From here.
Of course. So our apprenticeship scheme is split into placements. So as a project management degree apprentice, you spend the first 3 years of your scheme. So it's a 4 year scheme overall. Spend the
Yeah.
first 3 years moving around placements, different teams related to project management. So you do your risk management, your quality assurance, you spend some time in engineering, you work in different project management functions, so working with different project managers because everyone manages their projects differently. Equally, it's different projects, different timelines, different scales, different wants, needs, etc. And you basically get that holistic view of what a good project manager, in quotation marks, is like. And then for your final year, you choose your final placement and you choose a team that say you enjoyed the most or you found like the most growth in, that you want to spend the rest of your sort of career post apprenticeship in.
Yeah.
So me saying consolidation, it's between two different project management teams right now. And I won't tell you the projects and stuff, but it's both really exciting projects that I'm not sure about which one I want to go into yet, but that's ultimately what it looks like.
Okay, interesting. That's really cool to hear because I think I especially speak to a lot of different apprentices, and it's cool to see how they all work differently. Because mine has been I came in one role, I've sat in the same role the entire time, and that's where I'm going to finish. Whereas I've got other people in my team that have done placements across different teams in the business, or have even worked in different sites over the country. Some people working at home all the time. Some people like you see such different shapes and sizes and types of apprenticeship. So that's really interesting to hear. And I suppose what are the things that you are taking into consideration other than the projects that you could work on? What are the things that are influencing your decision for your next steps? Because I think a lot of the people that are listening to this maybe won't be going into their final year, but will be looking past their apprenticeship and trying to make that decision as to, or do I stay in the same team, or do I stay and maybe move, or do I leave? Like, there's a lot of decisions to make post apprenticeship. So, what are the kind of questions that you're asking yourself at the moment that either you have the answer to or you don't?
So the main things I look at are like the team itself. So sort of what they're like as a team, their working patterns. Like you mentioned, like working from home and then also working in person. I quite like the hybrid working environment. I don't think I want to do office every single day, but I also wouldn't want to be at home every day. So it's sort of that balance. But equally, the opportunities for the project and what it looks like in the long term. So let's say if you're interested in travel opportunities, would you be able to travel in that team? But equally, if you want to, let's say, lead more of a project, is there flexibility for you to have that responsibility? Um, that sort of stuff. Sort of how long is the project? Would you want to stay for the whole duration or just a snippet of a milestone, let's say? So yeah, just looking at the holistic time scheme of things and what they also envision for you to have as work. Does that make sense as well? So a lot of the teams I'm talking to are, what would my day to day look like? What would I be looking after if I was in this team? What would that sort of mean for my progression in terms of a project manager, but also what would that mean in terms of like how I'm hitting sort of our job family framework or our like my qualifications and that sort of stuff. Is the opportunity for qualifications after in the scheme? Can I develop myself in more like courses and like qualifications in that sense? So those are sort of things I'm thinking about asking those questions of.
That's again really super interesting because, like I said, it's so completely different to mine. I, I'm kind of about 90% sure that when I finish in the next year, my role is going to stay exactly the same. I'm going to stay in the same team with the same manager, working on the same things. So it's really interesting to see that, like, for me and for the guys listening, that you get to a point where you haven't even finished yet, but you've still got to be looking maybe potentially 5 years
Yeah.
ahead all the time. Which I think is a really important skill to have and something that I probably don't do enough. Like, I'm very just like, cool, I'm here, I'm working on this, like, I'm with these people, I'm getting paid this much, cool, I am where I am. I don't think there's a lot of like looking ahead for me, which is because I'm not forced to do it. But no, that's really interesting to hear. So that's really great that we've spoken now about kind of your role and what you've done and what you're looking at for the next year. I now want to talk a little bit about development and stuff like that, because I think one thing that as apprentices we don't do enough is self-reflect on
Yeah.
our development. And we look back and we think, oh, this time a year ago we were doing the same stuff, like I said, or you were still project managing, whatever, but there would have been different things that we would have learned over the last year, 6 months, however how long it's been since the last one. What would you say has been the biggest or the most useful skill that you've developed in the last year? Really, that's a really big question, I
Good
know,
question.
but
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily have to be something completely new. For me, I was rubbish at time management, and over the last year, I found ways to properly manage my time management. It could be something as simple as that, but yeah, what would you say that the biggest thing you've developed since we last spoke was?
Okay, I know my answer, and I feel like you will relate to it quite a bit actually, because I
Yeah,
think as apprentices we are juggling so much all the time, like
yeah,
from work to uni to like qualifications alongside university to social lives to
yeah,
family, friends, not going to uni podcasts, the brown girl league for me. Like there are a lot of things that we are juggling,
yeah, yeah.
and I think over let's say the past 6 months, I have really tried to live life more. Like as
Hmm.
cliche as that sounds, like we are young professionals, but we are also young, and we also are in our early 20s, and I think I've definitely learned more about prioritizing those fun moments and then also enjoying like the small things in life and just living life to the fullest. And I know that sounds really cliche, um, but I do think as young professionals, me especially, I put a lot of pressure on myself to like make the right decisions and to um, like know what's next. But actually, it's actually important to sit back, reflect, like you mentioned, but also enjoy the moment too.
100%. I think when I look back to when we first met properly, I think it was at a networking event.
Yeah,
And we started speaking about all the things we were doing, and we both had a list about like the length of our length of my arm,
yeah,
um, and there wasn't I don't think either of us mentioned particularly anything that we do outside of work or apprenticeships. and like you said, I probably would relate to this, but 100% in the last year, I found ways outside of work that I can release some stress or release some energy or just like balance life, because my social life was networking events 2 years ago. Like that was the full extent
Yeah.
of my social life, and it's not healthy, you know. As I really love talking about apprenticeships and talking to apprentices and meeting new people and all of that, that's still in my work bubble. You
Yeah.
know, you need to properly separate sometimes. So that is a really, really important skill, and I'm glad you brought that up. I think there's always room for more development in areas like that. You know, like I'm going to say here, like, so my biggest thing in downtime is I love theatre, and I work backstage in the theatre,
Oh
but
wow.
it's not. Like I said, working backstage in the theatre, it's still an element of work. I'm really
Yeah.
rubbish at being able to turn off. So for the next year, I would like to learn how to turn off properly. Have you got anything that you would still like to learn? Let's say hypothetically, if we did this again in a year.
Mm. Oh, like a goal to set myself, and when we do speak again, how did
Yeah,
you get on with this?
yeah, exactly. That's gonna be my first question.
I remember, I think I said to Jamie on my last, but I wanted to travel more, and I wanted to
Hmm.
use my holiday. So last year I was really bad at using my annual leave, and I ended up booking off like half of November and December because I had it all booked up. But this year I was so much better, and I'm so proud of myself. And I booked multiple holidays, and I went on
Good.
holiday to different countries, etc. And it was really great. So I would like to maintain that. But equally, hmm, I also think when you go straight from school, you are so used to the school bubble and the school personality in you that you don't have that time necessarily in corporate to find. I know it's really cliche, but to find you and find your hobbies and like to adapt
100%.
yourself to the young person that you are now, like the young adult you are, rather than the student that you were.
Hmm.
But like, yeah, to answer your question, what else would I like to do? I think that's a big question. But also switching off. I think being in the moment more. I think is more important.
Hmm.
Like for me, because with that long list of things that we are both managing, you naturally think about, oh, I need to do that. Oh, can't forget to do this. Or oh, next time I do this, it's a great idea. I'll do it like this. But it's actually like no, be where your feet are.
Hmm.
That's what Tara, the co-founder of Brandly, she told me that the other day, and I was like, that's a really nice phrase. Just like remembering where you are, be where your feet are, enjoy the moment, appreciate the small things, that sort of thing.
100%. Because I imagine, like you said, with all of the things that you're managing and we're managing, you're probably quite like me. You'll be sitting there watching a film and you'll go, "Oh wait, no, I've got to send that email to this person," and then you'll be like, "I
Yeah.
can't forget that," so I'll go and do it and come back. You sit down for 5 minutes to watch the film and you're like, "Oh, now I've emailed that person. There's another person that I have to tell that I've," and then you get stuck in this like utter bubble of, and then you lose what was your downtime into just like fiddling with
Mm.
little bits that could wait.
Yeah, maybe you just need to like put in a notes page, a reminder, do this, do this, do this, and it's like, okay, job done. I'll fix it on Monday. Sort of like time block, right?
Yeah, 100%.
I've I've,
percent
I've picked up time blocking quite a lot, where it's like today I will do this. Everything else could wait until then. Like today, my focus is going to be on this, and that's what I'm going to get done. And then tomorrow I'll focus on this, that sort of thing. So it's like spreading out my time, not thinking all at once. Because naturally as well, I feel like you get quite overwhelmed
Mm.
with like all these things at once. You're like, oh my gosh, I've got so much to do in such little time. But actually, time blocking helps break it up. Sort
Yeah.
of take that deep breath. It's a marathon, not a race, right? And I think that's what I'm also starting to learn.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? That's one of those sayings that you hear for years and years and
I know,
years and
it's
years,
so
and you're like,
cliche.
"Yeah, no, it's fine. It's a marathon, not a sprint." But then actually you get there and you're like, "Oh shit, I'm sprinting."
Yeah.
Like,
And burnout's a real thing as well. So it's like, what can we do to avoid that?
mm, yeah, 100%. And I think we definitely have some resources from the other ambassadors at Not Going to Uni about burnout, which I think I'm going to link underneath this episode. So if you are listening to this and you need help with your burnout, go and look in the description, and there will be some resources in there for you. Now, we're going to do some quick fire questions in a
Okay.
minute, but before that, there's one more thing I want to touch on, and it's not really that relevant. But you mentioned that you wanted to go on some holidays, and this year you have done so. Where was the favourite place that you went this year, and what was the coolest thing you did?
Um, I mean, so I don't know. I don't have a favorite. I genuinely enjoyed all my holidays this year. So for context, I went to New York twice. We did like my parents' anniversary in the Maldives and Dubai, so that was
Cool.
amazing. Very different holidays. It's
Yeah.
like snorkeling and then sightseeing for like Dubai, or like the action of the sand dunes and stuff, which was really fun. I did like a girls trip with my friend, and we did a Turkey all-inclusive vibe. So they've all been very different holidays, but very, very enjoyable, all of them.
Okay,
So
cool. Yeah, I won't make you pick a favourite then because they sound like they've all had a purpose. You know, you've
oh,
had family
100%,
ones,
yeah.
you've had solo ones, you've had girls trips, you've had like everything's kind of served a purpose. So, if let's change it then. If you were to pick the top three coolest things you've done this year whilst travelling, what
Okay.
would you pick? You mentioned a couple there, which I feel like have to make the list if it were me, but
Yeah, so like definitely snorkeling. That
mhm.
we every day there was a new sea creature we saw, like a turtle, sharks, dolphins. It was absolutely insane.
And that was in the Maldives.
Yeah, yeah, it
Cool,
was amazing. Dubai, I really enjoyed like the sand, like buggy driving and
nice.
like, the camel riding, all that sort of stuff. The dune bashing. That was very adrenaline rushing, but it was really really fun. Um, and then New York. I'm a huge foodie, and I just loved eating everything possible in New York.
That's yeah, that's really really. Oh my god, you've made me so jealous now and really hungry.
Sorry.
Um, Amazing. So we're going to pop on to the quick fire
Yep,
questions now.
ready.
Here we go.
Okay.
Are you ready? Quick
Yep,
fire questions.
ready.
I want one sentence answer if you can,
Okay.
and full answer over in 30 seconds.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep.
Number one, what is the biggest misconception about apprenticeships?
Mm. Oh, sorry. I know it's meant to be quick fire.
That's cool. No, no,
Um,
no. It's a big question, but
this is a big question. Biggest misconception about apprenticeships, I would say, is that you don't enjoy what you do. I feel like a lot of the time you think you don't get along with the people you work with, or you're so overwhelmed with work, but actually you get to do really exciting stuff like traveling for work, or meeting new teams, working with new people, that kind of thing.
great. Second question. What's one skill that you've gained through your apprenticeship that you wouldn't have gained had you gone to university?
I think my ability to speak to a lot of people, different ages, different audiences, different job roles, different crowds, different people. I think the big variety in who you're speaking to and managing that translation in how you're speaking to them is really important.
Feel like you've already answered this one through the episode, but it's in my list and I ask it to everyone. So, how do you balance both work, study, and life effectively?
Time blocking, lots of
Yeah.
time.
Number four, what advice would you give to someone who's on the fence between university and apprenticeships?
Think about what you want from university. Think about what you want overall, and think about what you'll gain from university itself and what you'll gain from a degree apprenticeship, and see which one aligns with what your end goal is.
Brilliant. And final one, big question. Don't expect this one particularly to take 30 seconds if it doesn't need to.
Okay.
Best piece of life advice you've ever been given?
Ooh, best be where your feet are.
Yeah, I thought it would be. And that is the quick fire questions. So, unless there is anything else that you wanted to speak about today, that's where we're going to leave it.
Amazing. I think that's everything. But if anyone else, like if anyone listening, has any questions for me, feel free to contact me on LinkedIn. Drop me a sort of a like, a message, whatever. Like a invite,
Yeah,
like, comment, subscribe. Do that to Not Going to Uni podcast too. But if anyone has any questions, feel free to get in touch.
brilliant. We will put all of your contact info down in the
Amazing.
description. But yeah, the last thing is to say is thank you so much. And we have really enjoyed revisiting your journey. So have a good day and we hope to catch up with you soon.